The silent treatment in marriage is actually a silent killer to emotional intimacy and connection. I'm going to go over a few reasons why it kills a relationship, and also why it happens, and how it could also be used as manipulation, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is manipulation. My name's Tyler. I'm a marriage therapist who is also trained in trauma, and I'm making these videos not necessarily to give advice and say you have to do it exactly like this, but to produce thought provoking content to help you as you're deciding what works best for your marriage. If there's things I'm sharing that are confusing or you disagree with, please post that in the comments. The intent behind this content is to be helpful. Okay, so what is the silent treatment ultimately? An emotionally focused therapy, which is the model I'm trained in, it is a protective mechanism that people use in conflicts when they don't feel like they can get anywhere or that speaking is going to make the conversation or argument worse. Now, that I will talk about the manipulation aspect later, but if you're in a relationship where both people genuinely want the best for their marriage and your partner is using the silent treatment during an argument, that is telling you that they have an emotional need that they don't feel like is being met or that it feels threatened. Most people in their relationship, slash, pretty much all people, need to feel safe. And so when a person doesn't feel safe, and that's not saying they're physically not safe, but emotionally unsafe, they do things to protect themselves. One of the things people do to protect themselves when they don't feel safe is they go silent or they freeze. Other people get up and criticize, they amp up the energy and they attack. So let's say you're in an argument with your spouse, you go towards her, it could be a him, both people do it, and the way you go towards them is kind of loud and aggressive. You're kind of like, why are you doing that? What's wrong with you? You got to stop doing that. And then they just shut down and refuse to engage. That is the type of silent treatment I'm talking about. When they do that, they're protecting themselves because in their mind and emotionally they feel unsafe. So they're saying, ooh, if I continue having this conversation, it's just going to make things worse. I care about this relationship, so it's better to just avoid. Unintentionally, though, that can get the relationship stuck in a pattern where you pursue, they withdraw, and then y'all never get that reconnection that you're both going for. The person who pursues in an argument is usually thinking or feeling something like, hey, something's off. We need to make this right. So we're going to have this conflict conversation. The person who pulls back is like, ooh, this could make it worse. And I don't want to make this worse. So it's best just to avoid it. And when you do that, you get stuck in a cycle. The silent treatment in a more nefarious type way can be used as manipulation or to try to control people, and that is wrong on multiple levels. And I do not condone using any form of manipulation in your relationships. And a lot of people will confuse that because they can look similar and they can even feel similar. But again, if you're both genuinely trying and want the best for your relationship, it's likely that that silent treatment is not necessarily a form of manipulation, though it could feel like it. Um, if you're trying to sort these kind of conversations out with your spouse, this is how you do it. I call it the I, you, we. I would go towards my wife and I'd be like, hey, I'm struggling with some areas of our relationship, and I know you are too. Could we take a moment to get back on the same page? Because I think we're unintentionally missing each other, especially when arguments occur. And when you speak to somebody like that, it actually communicates safety. You could go to someone in that way and you'd let me know which feels safer. Hey, I'm struggling. I know that you have a lot going on too. Can we flesh this out a little bit more so we can come closer together as a couple? Or you could say, hey, why do you keep doing that? You're shutting down and you're not even trying. Do you even want this to work? When you speak to someone like that, the you, it feels like you are actually the one controlling them and trying to force them to do something that they're not really in a position to do because they don't feel safe. If you want mutual vulnerability and connection, safety is a cornerstone for that. People aren't going to take risks, which for the person who does the silent treatment, them speaking up would be considered a risk for them because, again, they don't want to make things worse. So every time they speak, it's actually a risk that it can make the relationship worse. So they need to feel safe in order to take that risk. So another way you can also target it is ask, hey, honey or husband, whoever, whatever you call your spouse, when we get in when we get in arguments, do you feel safe? And what are the things that help you feel safe? And what are the things that make you feel unsafe? And that's not saying you're not a safe person. We all are basically threat mitigation systems. We're always figuring out, am I safe? Am I safe? Right now, I'm driving. I'm recording this. Obviously, I'm focusing on the road, looking at the camera periodically, but I'm asking myself, is this safe to record this right now? So we're always doing it, and a person becomes anxious when something tells them you're not safe. And then when they're anxious, they will go into the fight, flight, or freeze strategies, which silent treatment is one of those. So if you have any questions in the comments, let me know what you think. And also, totally disagree with me. Several people in some of these videos will disagree with the concept about validation, which I got another video on that, trying to clarify what that actually means. Little quick tip on it: it's not necessarily agreement. You're validating the person's emotions. But check that video out as well, and let me know. And thank y'all for supporting this page. The heart is I want to help couples because a lot of couples get stuck in patterns that they can't get out of, and then it leads to resentment and bitterness. And two things happen, and they either get a divorce or they just become roommates and have to exist in loneliness in their marriage with the person that they actually love, which is totally heartbreaking. I see it all the time in my work as a therapist, and it's something I'm committed to helping with, which is why I'm making these videos. So thanks for watching.